to take over for us in lucky round number 13. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Maria. Of course, Marshall in the machine here, also with our predictions. But it happens to line up with Mani's. At least mine. I think Shota's going to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the red-black deck has all the tools to beat the mono-white deck, but of course the mono-white deck will also punish you if you have kind of some of those slow starts. And I like some of the sideboard options that Takumi has, so I think it's going to be a little bit closer than what many people might think.
Okay, but there's a lot on the line here for Shota Yasooka because at 11-1, we have it set up such that if you make it to that magical 12th win, you just lock your top 8 seed. Like, he can head over to the market. It's still open. He can go get a sandwich or whatever. And
2 hours. He's got 2 hours.
Yeah, he's got 2 hours, and he plays so quickly, you know. All right, here's a Thoughtseize to kick things off against his opponent, Takumi Matsuura. And let's see what he's got to take. It looks like a pair of Thalia's lieutenants. What else do we have here?
We've got a Thalia recruitment officer and a Dauntless bodyguard, so
Wow.
won't be able to really slow Takumi down, right? We have 2 1-drops and 3 2s.
So he's going to go big.
Yep, take the lieutenant. Lieutenant's extremely powerful. There's lots of spot removal, but no sweepers. So if Takumi can develop his board and then run out of Thalia's lieutenant, Shota might not have enough removal in time to deal with everything.
It's going to be an untapped Blood Crypt here for Shota. He's facing down. Oh, look at this. He's got Blood Tithe Harvester, a really nice answer to anything. I mean, he can trade it off or he can even activate it later, though. Let's see what he does this time. It looks like he's going to take the 2. That's going to put him at 16 thanks to that shock land to turn prior.
Oh, and look at this. Protecting the Skrelv, and this is
Wow.
kind of one of the newer additions to the mono-white humans deck, and this means that Shota needs to find 2 ways to kill Skrelv, and if he can't, now all of those great spot removal spells that we talked about in this matchup, you need to find multiple copies, right? Because you need to go end of turn kill Skrelv, protect itself, then on your turn you have to kill it again.
Well, it only does other creatures, so the good news is, but you still need 2.
Right. You still need 2.
Your point was correct, Paul.
So if you want to kill something like a Thalia's Lieutenant or a Thalia, it just becomes that much more difficult.
Yeah,
so.
but the Dauntless Bodyguard does set up the scenario that you described, where now it's really difficult to work through all this stuff. The good news for Shota is that his deck is quite removal heavy in the main. He actually does pack quite a bit of one-to-one creature interaction, which, you know, I mean, we see quite a few decks in the format that don't really care about that. But here, he actually does have the tools. Let's see what he's got in hand. Wow, a lot of Blood Tithe Harvesters and a Dread.
Blood Tithe Harvester is a clean answer to the Skrelv, right? Because it gives -X/-X, so the Indestructible Clause does not work. But Shota might just be interested in getting some humans off the battlefield. He does know about Thalia's Lieutenant in Takumi's hand. And looks like missing on a land drop here for Shota.
Yeah, he does have 2 blood tokens piled up, but that could be tough for him as well. The bodyguard did get sacrificed there, so Skrelv had Indestructible, but that was on the last turn. Here comes the 2-1. And once again, Shota's okay with just leaving the Harvester there. Now we see Thalia hit the battlefield. And this could get awkward here if there's no more land drops because, ooh, there's a Mutavault off the top there for Shota.
Yeah, Shota
has
has
a Dreadbore.
I believe he has a Dreadbore and a Fable. Currently can't play the Fable with the Thalia in play. So would need to try to kill Thalia, but of course he can't because the Skrelv is in play. He would need to target the Skrelv with the removal spell first.
Yes.
But let's just say he does that, right? He goes, sack my Blood Tithe Harvester and then use my removal spell to get 2 things off the battlefield.
Yeah.
Takumi still has a follow-up. Look at that. Mutavault in hand with Thalia's Lieutenant. So next turn, you go Mutavault, double activate, Thalia's Lieutenant. All of a sudden, you have this huge board with 2 3/3 creature lands in play, along with the Lieutenant and the Recruitment Officer.
Right.
Still a lot of threats on the battlefield that Shota will have to fight through.
So he's going to build up an army of Blood Tithe Harvesters. That's the 3rd one that's been cast. And he says, go. So right back over to Takumi, who finally seems like his draw has gotten just a slight bit floody here. But as you mentioned, not a problem. The second Mutavault acts as another human.
Right.
And he's got quite a board to deal with here.
Yeah, the other option is to just spend the mana to activate the Recruitment Officer. But I think he just wants to play a bunch of creatures here. Thalia's Lieutenant, trigger on the stack, activate both Mutavaults. Or just activate both Mutavaults, doesn't really matter.
Nope. There's Thalia's Lieutenant. And with the trigger up, we're going to see.
Oh, I
he
see.
wants to
Okay,
get in
so he
now.
wants to just attack right away.
Wow,
Okay.
so he actually used a Mutavault to activate the other Mutavault. You know, we were thinking tap
Right.
for itself, activate itself, and then use the 2 Mutavaults to start attacking next turn. But he actually wanted to get rowdy today. So he's going to use a Mutavault to activate the other one and then put the counter on it.
Yeah, and Shota down to 12 here? Or is he already at 12?
He is
so
already
he is at 12. So this represents a 2-turn clock, and so Shota now has to decide. I mean, you can just block. Skrelv has not been activated, so it would just be a trade. Remember, Shota does have the ability to just sacrifice the Harvester to kill Skrelv first, then utilize whatever removal spell that he has to kill something else.
Yeah, next turn he can do that. For now, though, he's stuck with just combat, and he's going to sort of thread the needle there. He's going to trade off one of the Harvesters, but keep the other one on the battlefield so he can potentially do the sacrifice thing. That's what he wants.
A great draw.
What did he find?
Shieldred.
Can he cast it?
I
Because we did see him
right. Does he
rummage away a duress.
Right, but I see a swamp there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
he's
you
good.
can go swamp Shieldred and just go, well, Takumi, if you just don't have a Brutal Cathar, that thing can just kind of hold the fort.
Yeah,
right?
and if he wants to take out Skrelv here to make sure that Shieldred can block,
exactly,
he could be in fine shape. I mean, we've all seen how this goes.
Right, and with the Skrelv, though, I mean, you don't necessarily need to sacrifice the Harvester just because you can only Skrelv one thing, right?
Sure.
Because you Skrelv one creature and then you get in for 3. Shota's at 9, so things are not looking too bad unless Takumi can find an answer.
For Shieldred herself. Yeah. Okay.
All right, and
and he's just passed the turn
That's
back.
got to be a great feeling here for Shota. Gonna start gaining some life here. You can crack some blood, gain more life.
Boy, that Shieldred was a game breaker. Things
Big
were
draw.
sketchy until then,
Big
and
draw.
now all of a sudden we're going to see these life totals skyrocket on Shota's side. He finally uses the Blood Tithe Harvester to target Skrelv. And it looks like it's really fallen flat here for Takumi, just a pair of planes in hand.
Yeah, and he's thinking whatever you have a removal spell for, you can use it. Takumi is likely just going to look to activate the Recruitment Officer here, end of turn.
And there's Graveyard Trespasser to come in. It's going to eat Skrelv out of the graveyard.
Yeah, Takumi really needs to find a Brutal Cathar.
Okay, Recruitment Officer is going to get activated on end step, so he'll get some looks. Oh, he picked something, but it's just off camera. But we'll probably see it.
Right.
Just a second here.
Maybe he can find
this
another.
lieutenant.
Maybe a lieutenant would make things kind of big.
Could he just go big enough to actually get through?
The Shieldred?
Yeah.
One counter short, right? Because if you play your Recruitment Officer and your Thalia becomes they have 4 power.
Mm-hmm.
Brutal Cathar.
Oh, there's Brutal Cathar, though. And the Thalia's Lieutenant.
Is this enough?
What a massive 1-2 punch here for Takumi Matsuura.
All right, so you got to block here. You can block a 4-power creature. You take 7, go down to 5. But remember, we do know that Shota does have a Dreadbore, so we'll be getting that Shieldred back.
He needs it. And he will not be gaining life off of that draw step, because it'll still be stuck.
I wonder, I guess you can still wait, but could have considered sacrificing a blood to gain life.
Before it got
Exile.
underneath the Brutal Cathar.
Right, and just use a mana that you have available.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is going to be 3 mana for a Dreadbore. So Brutal Cathar goes away. Back comes Shieldred. This is kind of the last stand, though, right? I mean, if this Shieldred doesn't stand this turn, it's going to be over.
So Shota can go up to 9 here, right? 2 blood tokens in play.
Yes.
Shieldred can block.
And that Thalia's Lieutenant is on the battlefield, by the way.
Right,
the one on the side there.
So going up, he can potentially go up to 9. Now Takumi's just doing the math here. Okay.
So more
now,
humans hitting the
now you can
battlefield
block a
is
4-power
fine.
creature, and this is 9 damage total, right? Well,
Oh,
no, but
Mutavault plus activate.
Right. So Mutavault can block one of the 4-power creatures here as well. He would be throwing it away, right? But you can go Shieldred in front of the the Thalia, Mutavault in front of the Thalia's Lieutenant,
Then do a blood.
Then do a blood, and you would go up to 7, and then you would take 4 and go to 3.
And then it's hang on to Shieldred for the ride.
Right. Well, does Shota have a card in hand?
Yeah, I think he has
If he has Fable, right?
Takanuma or something.
Fable.
A
He's got
Fable. He
in
played the
hand.
Takanuma. Yeah, you're right.
Could he survive and still take 6? He can, right? Because if he blocks this way, he gets Lieutenant off the battlefield, takes 6 damage, gain 2 from the blood, go to 7, and would go down to 1 life.
Yeah, so now he's trying to think of, okay, if I get Thalia's Lieutenant off the battlefield, does that set me up better for the future than getting Thalia off the battlefield? Because he knows straight away he wants to cast Fable. That's going to take all of his current mana.
Right.
And he's going to have to get rid of the Fable here, it looks like.
And because the Lieutenant can grow, choosing to get that off the battlefield, because Shieldred can just eat the Thalia.
Yep. So both Lieutenants
down to 1.
Down to 1 life.
Back
he's
up
go
to
up
3.
to 3 and still has a blood.
Still has a blood, so potentially 5. And he had to discard a Fable, so what did he find? Oh, he just drew into another Fable.
As well as the land.
It's a bit awkward, though, because if you play the Fable, you're tapped out, because it costs 4 with Thalia in play, and then you can't sacrifice a blood token.
True. You do get a blocker.
You do get a blocker.
In case something goes wrong, Matsuura has nothing in hand.
You could also potentially just sack the blood now just to get that information. Discard the land. If you don't find a land, you probably find a spell you can play, but maybe that's a little risky. What happens if you just play the Fable? If you just play the Fable, you can block the Mutavault and the Thalia, and you would only take 1. Oh, excuse me, 2 from the trainee, because it would get a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah, hopefully.
So that is what Shota is on right now. He would go down to 1 if right now Takumi attacks with everything.
Again.
Again. But every turn the Shieldred's in play, of course, you get to claw your way back in.
Hopeful Initiate there does have an activated ability that would allow Matsuura to remove 2 counters from creatures he controls to destroy an artifact or enchantment. There are 2 targets.
Yeah, but he would only get 1 counter. Needs to remove 2 counters to kill something. So now Thalia will get eaten by the Shieldred. The Goblin token will go in front of Mutavault. Because that way you get a trade. You go to 1.
And he does actually activate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can remove it from any of your creatures.
Any of your creatures,
and he's going to use it to kill the Fable.
But now he's got to find an answer to Shieldred, right?
That's right, because
1 is not 0.
Again, Shota is back at 1 and then back to 3. He still has the blood token there. He's got a Black Cleave Cliffs. Is this another Fable?
Ooh.
Wow. This might be too much, right? I mean, how the heck is Matsuura going to get through this now?
Another Brutal Cathar on Shieldred.
He's going to use this right now, by the way. Get rid of Black Cleave Cliffs. Go up to 5.
Go up to 5. So Brutal Cathar is kind of what he needs here to get started.
Is he lining up an attack right now?
Oh.
He is!
He's like, all right, turning it around.
Wow, down to 7, now down to 5.
Down to 5. Wow, what a tight game.
So no Brutal Cathar, I guess.
Down to 3.
You could just take it. Recruitment Officer hits the battlefield, but up to 5 goes Shota.
And then Fable Trigger happens.
And he may even go higher on that life total, depending on what he's got. Blood Tithe Harvester.
Shieldred's a heck of a card, Marshall.
Wow. Incredible. Down to 1 twice now.
Twice.
But now he's going to go back up to 5. Once again, these triggers from the Fable, these triggers from the blood tokens, and of course just your draw step.
Takumi just had an incredible start, too.
He did.
With this deck. Drew 3 copies of Thalia's Lieutenant, but just this Shieldred just so strong in these creature matchups.
He was tantalizingly close to winning twice as well, getting Shota all the way down to just 1. He attacks with Shieldred.
Yeah,
Blood Tithe Harvester, get rid of that. I'm back up to 7. You're down to 3 now after the trigger.
Yeah, I don't think he can, I mean, even if you draw a Brutal Cathar now, Shota can sacrifice the Blood Tithe Harvester to kill the Brutal Cathar. Oh no, he doesn't have a blood token in play at the moment.
Yeah, and it's sorcery anyway.
Yeah.
And once again, you know, Shota's gotten himself into a situation where he has the luxury of actually just taking hits, right?
Yeah.
The last 2 turns, he's like, yeah, I'll take it.
Right. Oh,
it was a Brutal Cathar.
There is the Brutal Cathar.
Can he finish the game here? I guess he can just force a trade.
Yeah. So any removal spell here.
Yeah, and it's a
would
good
be
attack
lethal.
too, because
he has to block. Yeah, so there's just, you can't come back from this.
No. Oh, and there's
Oh,
Liliana
and
of
a
the Veil to
Liliana,
make
okay.
an empty board. And, you know, mono white, not great from these
Big 3 go to
positions.
1.
And finally, Shota Yasooka is going to lock up game number 1. That was about as close as they get, Paul, as we saw him get down to 1, not once, but twice that game.
Yeah, really, really well played game by Shota. And, I mean, that's just also an example of, it seems like on paper, this Rakdos deck might be heavily favored, but Takumi nearly got that one.
He really did.
Right?
He really did. Now, post-board,
It gets much worse.
it gets worse for Takumi, right?
Right, because Shota now has access to sweepers and more removal spells. You can replace cards like Duress and Thoughtseize and bring in 3 copies of Rituals of Soot and 2 copies of Extinction Event. So Ritual of Soot certainly coming in. So lots of great options here for Shota. Now, one interesting card that Takumi has in his sideboard that you know that he's going to be bringing in is 4 copies of Wedding Announcement.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right?
tough to beat.
Really great against the Rakdos that can't get it off the battlefield if you play it.
Oh, man. Shota goes turn 1, Thoughtseize, take your Thalia. And
Oh,
Takumi
Thoughtseize
goes,
Curse?
Thoughtseize.
Thoughtseize Curse.
Just slap.
Everybody knows Thoughtseize Curse.
It's right on top of your library, literally every time. Ooh, untapped Blood Crypt here on 2, and he's going to pass the turn back.
Thoughtseize Bug.
Yeah, this looks like it's maybe, what is it? Oh, Fatal Push there. And that's going to be reserved for Skrelv as Shota falls to 14. There's Hopeful Initiate and another
nice.
one.
Playing everything.
Hey, this is another good start here for Matsuura. Let's see if that sideboard plant from Shota Yasooka can dig him out of a hole here. His life total's falling. I do see one card in hand there, Paul. Shieldred
that's a
again.
Shieldred.
Wow, another untapped Blood Crypt. Ouch! But Graveyard Trespasser is going to take out one of the creatures in the yard. That's going to be a little Drano for 1. But more importantly, he just has a 3/3.
Yeah, just has a 3/3 in play. Now, Thalia's Lieutenant would be great along with a Brutal Cathar, right? A
Yeah.
Thalia's Lieutenant would mean you put a +1/+1 counters on all your thing, then you can train the Hopeful Initiate, and all of a sudden, you have 3/3 power creatures that would be attacking this turn.
With just a Plains in hand at the beginning of the turn, he's drawn a Mutavault and just has to pass the turn. That's also going to turn day into night, which means that the Graveyard Glutton has arrived. Tapland, second Hive here for Shota. And that does allow him to leave Bone Crusher Giant, or more aptly, Stomp available here.
As Stomp available here for Thalia's Lieutenant, and then next turn, can just slam that Shieldred.
This is a big hold your breath moment here. Is there some... Oh, it's Wedding Announcement. A very nice draw here for Matsuura. Although, unfortunately for him, it won't do anything right now.
Right. It'll take some time.
So, Bone Crusher is going to go on an adventure after stomping Thalia. Graveyard Glutton still intact.
Ooh, are we attacking?
Ooh, getting frisky here from Shota.
Beat downs. Perhaps wanting to put some additional pressure with that Wedding Announcement in play. Maybe we're in a racing
Recognizing
situation.
you can't just sit here anymore.
Right. It's just, I'm going to attack you for 4. I'm going to jam this Shieldred. Hope you don't have a removal spell.
Did it get chump blocked?
It looks like it did.
Wow. And look at the
Right.
follow-up, Shieldred. The Apocalypse here from Shota Yasooka. He wants that top 8.
Cathar?
It kind of has to be, and it's
Yeah.
off the top, by the way. Like, this
Right.
is not a situation where Matsuura has had a chance to, like, hold on to some important thing just in case. Like, he's just dumped his hand.
And we are very close here for Shota Yasooka to lock himself a slot
Unbelievable.
into the top 8. Another top finish on his already extremely impressive resume of 11 top finishes.
Number 12 incoming. It's sure starting to feel like that. Luminarch Aspirant's a nice one, but that isn't going to do anything this turn.
By the way, if Shota does get this top finish, he will pass Chye and Luis got Vargas, because he's currently tied with them with 11 top finishes. He will then catapult himself up to number 4 in top finishes.
That is some extremely exclusive territory. You see the Graveyard Glutton get in once again. Tough situation
There's
here
just
for
no
Matsuura.
good attack here, right? I mean, I wonder if Takumi's just considering attacking with 2 creatures just to draw a card to find a Brutal Cathar.
He's being attacked.
Oh, he's being attacked.
Yeah,
Excuse
so
me.
he's got to decide, do I want to throw a bunch in front of the Glutton? And he does! The answer
Block, 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 block.
Yes, how about
What you got?
all of the things. Wow. But that means that 2 of them will be disappearing. And, you know, this is important for Shota to get this done while he can, before the wedding announcement transforms. Ooh, and there's Fable the Mirror Breaker. Really good time to cast that here. As it can, he can use it to kind of fuel the mid to late game, of which, you know, he has a pretty powerful options, especially post-board. But really, the only thing I'm looking at here, Paul, is Sheoldred.
Yeah, I mean,
if that's on the battlefield, he's not losing.
Yeah, it is just one of the most impactful cards just in this matchup.
It was until Ossification hit it.
Oh,
okay. So we're back in business from Matsuura's
All right.
perspective. And look at this. He's lining up a big attack.
All of a sudden, things have turned around.
Yeah, that's all
right?
it took. He needed to top deck some answer. We were talking about Brutal Cathar, but Ossification will do too.
It's a much better answer, too, because Shota simply can't draw a removal spell for the Ossification.
Right.
And now Wedding Announcement is going to flip.
Hey, you know, that Fable of the Mirror Breaker has some serious pressure on it at this point.
What a draw here.
You see the training trigger as well on the Hopeful Initiate. And we're going to see a trade.
4
Shota's
damage.
life total's going to fall, though. Yeah, he's at 13. And with the attack for at least 2 creatures, that's actually a card in the hand for Matsuura.
Right. And then,
which is fine. Maybe a body would be good too, but at any rate.
And now we have an Anthem effect in play here.
Huge, especially the double Mutavault.
Right.
Even Castle Ardenvale can start just pumping out 2
Yep,
like
2/2s
these
every
are
single
hard.
turn.
You know, when Shota had a clock going, it was different, but you know, if he just draws a bunch of 1-for-1 removal, you know, I feel like Matsuura can actually interact with that.
Yeah, these creatures are far less threatening, right?
Right. Okay, a double spell turn, though, for Shota. He plays the Bone Crusher Giant that was on Adventure. That had been there for quite a while. And then a second copy of Fable. So he's got action coming.
He does, he does. So we got an attack for potentially 3 here. Can attack for... Ooh.
Illuminarch Aspirant and a Mutavault. Trigger the Aspirant, put it on the Mutavault, and send in. That will, of course, trigger training once again.
And Mutavault is now a 4/4. And the trainee is currently a 4/5 getting in.
Not enough mana to activate the trainee here, and it looks like Shota wants to try to maintain these Fables if possible. Oh, and there's Skrelv too, so a flurry of action here for Takumi.
Now Shota does get to dig here, right? We have Fable going to Chapter 2.
Looks like he was hellbent.
Then we have another 2/2. So can at least discard 1 card if he doesn't like the card that he finds.
So some little bit of filtering. One card for Shota, and it looks like it's a Graveyard Trespasser.
Chose not to rummage there.
He said
it's good enough.
It's good enough. Reflection of Kiki Jiki also on the battlefield now. It's got Summoning Sickness at the moment, but that is the type of card that can do dumb stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Shota is currently at 10. I'm wondering just how aggressive this Takumi. Wow,
he's going to answer you right away.
So fast. He's like, all right, I'm just getting in.
He actually, it looked like he was burdened by his draw step because he's like, can we just get to combat like right now? All right, 2.
Getting in for 8.
Yeah, 4/4 Mutavault slamming. And once again, Shota's best option here is just to try to attrition through by double blocking. He's falling down to 6 in the process.
And now Reflection of Kikijiki will be active, so can make a chump blocker at instant speed if he chooses to copy the Goblin Shaman.
Is there something like dumb that he could draw here that he could start copying?
Bloodtithe Harvester,
Bloodtithe Harvester
is a fantastic card to copy.
Yes.
Yeah. Or Shieldred, also.
Just getting a Shieldred would be sweet no matter what. We also have to remember the Hive of the Eye Tyrant down there. That could be a blocker of note. Boy, this game got real interesting after that ossification. Up until then, it was like, well, looks like Shota's cruising to top 8.
Yeah, and one little thing Shota can also do if Takumi doesn't present a lethal attack is go, end of your turn, activate Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, targeting Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, and you can make for every mana, you can make a 2/2 at end of turn. That will die on the next end step.
Wow.
So you can get it for a really huge attack, potentially.
And he does have 6 life to play with here. The Goblin Shaman's actually getting in the red zone. It's going to create a treasure as well. Very close one here between Takumi and Shota. They do not have identical records, you'll note. Shota is playing for top 8. If you get to 12 wins at this tournament, you're in. That's it. Like, you're locked. There's no tiebreakers. In fact, you don't even have to play the rest.
So you can make a 4/4 Mutavault and activate Skrelv to make it so red creatures can't block. But like you mentioned, there is a Hive of the Eye Tyrant in play.
And that turns into a black creature.
So just copying a reflection here and chump blocking. And then end of turn could potentially make 5 2/2s.
And you can see he got a freebie there. All right, there's a Thalia.
All right, is it time to make an army of 2/2s?
Kind of feels like it, doesn't it?
Okay. Is there enough?
It doesn't
There's some blockers.
quite feel like it. Although if you
there is a Hive in play.
There is a Hive. There is a 2/1 first strike on the other side, but maybe he could just simply overwhelm him.
Yeah.
This is not how I saw this game going.
Every time you play with Fable, you're like, oh yeah, I can also do this dumb thing. Oh!
Oh, he's going for all of
treasure!
them. Does he actually have enough?
So that one dies. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 2/2s. 8 2/2s and 3 blockers. That's 10 damage, Marshall.
That is too.
And there's a
enough.
Hive in play.
And he can fire up the Hive as well. And he's got Takumi Matsuura completely tapped out here.
Oh, man. Oh, excuse me. Skrelv also can't block. It's a might.
That's true.
It cannot block, so 2
only
blockers.
2 blockers, so it's even
This
easier.
is a super lethal attack.
Wow, Shota Yasooka setting up a beautiful double reflection of Kiki-Jiki hand. And there it is, Hive of the Eye Tyrant.
Oh my
and who's the
goodness.
aggressor now? Shota Yasooka attacks with all creatures. And Matsuura says, you got me. And with that, Shota Yasooka secures his 12th career top finish.
Incredible. Incredible.
That puts him into absolutely rarefied territory. As you mentioned, if you look at the all-time top finishes leaderboard, he just jumped Kai Booty and Luis Scott Vargas up into the Finkel range.
Yeah. Well, let's not get too crazy, all right? But he is now...
He's in that list.
He's on that list. He is now top 4.
Yeah.
Right? He is number 4 behind, like you said, Paulo,
Finkel, and Nassif.
That's just wild.
That's insane.
And I think you know, Shota just watched that, have been watching all these other decks trying to do these super linear things, combo. He's like, you know what? I can combo as well. Check out what I did that game.
Yeah, and also, you know, you're the aggressor. I'm the aggressor. I mean, he's the one that attacked with a bunch of creatures to get the win in there. So great stuff from Shota. He's done for the day. That's going to be it for him. But we're not. We got a lot more Magic to bring you right after this break. And welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Phyrexia. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Chye, and we're bringing coverage of Pioneer. We're just starting to fill top 8 seats. Our first one just got claimed by Shota Yasooka with that 12th win. Now, as we come into these matches, some of the players are in that type of position, but precious few. The further we go along today, though, more of those seats will get taken. Again, the way it works here is if you get to 12 wins, you're in, that's it. It's not a tiebreaker thing at that point. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to get to 12 wins that makes it the top 8, so we still may have some tiebreaker stuff going on. But in the feature match area, we're going to join Chye, Hwee, Heng, and Derrick Davis in game number 2. These are both 2 regional championship qualifiers here for the PT. And mono white in the hands of Chye, but on the other side, Enigmatic Fires, which, by the way, won the first game, Paul. A little bit of nonsense here for Derrick. Like, what's up with this fire?
Yeah, this is a really, really fun deck. And basically, the way that this works is you're playing a combination of enchantments and creatures, because you need both in this deck. And what you're trying to do is get Enigmatic Incarnation onto the battlefield, sacrifice a cheap enchantment that cantrips, maybe draws you a card, and then fetch out creatures that do things when they enter the battlefield. One really nice combination that you're looking to do is get Enigmatic Incarnation into play. Then you play Leyline Binding. Sacrifice Leyline Binding. It's a sick... in this deck, it costs about 2 mana to cast, but you sacrifice that Leyline Binding, then you can start getting 7-drops from your deck. So you can get Titan of Industry, Agent of Treachery, cards like that into play. So that's what this deck is trying to do. Sometimes you can get a little bit run over. You're playing a Yorion deck, you're playing lots of colors, so there's a little bit of inconsistency there. But when you get those right draws, the deck is really, really fun to play.
Looks like Thalia might have gotten chained to the rocks here from Derrick, and that'll allow him to not get slowed down so much.
Oh, and look at this, all the cheap interaction
Oath
here.
of Chandra. That will do 3 damage to something, and it looks like it's going to be Hopeful Initiate, but the Bodyguard is going to get activated there to save it.
And with cards like that Enigmatic Incarnation, you're highly incentivized to play both enchantments and creatures that come into play and have powerful effects, that do things when they come into play, which makes this also the perfect Yorion deck. Because if you ever just cast Yorion, oftentimes you're going to be getting 2 or 3 cards worth of value as you're going to blink everything and put them back into play.
We see a nice aggressive attack here from Chye, who is going to fire up a Mutavault and get in there. I'm curious to see how important this Hopeful Initiate ends up being over the course. It does have that activated ability where it can take out artifacts or enchantments, but you need to pay 2 and a white, and you need to remove 2 counters from among creatures you control. So right now, you know, Chye's not really in the business. Oh, well, that'll change things. Thalia's lieutenant off the top of the library.
Yeah, can get a pretty big attack here. Derrick's already down to 9.
Yeah.
Had to take some damage with those shock lands.
His life total's definitely falling quickly. Oh, and there's a Brutal Cathar. And I suppose you just run the lieutenant out there anyway, even if the Mutavault can't get woken up here. Right? You just go for it now.
Yeah, you can get in for 1 extra point of damage now if you just activate Mutavault and attack. Or you can play the lieutenant and then get in for 1 less point of damage, but you'll just have more on the battlefield.
Yeah, that is an interesting decision point. Let's see what she decides to do. Got a lot of work to do here. He's finding himself down game to Derrick. All right, it's Mutavault now is the answer. So 4 damage. Down to 5 falls Derrick. He has no creatures on board.
Can search for some action here.
Gonna need to.
If you can find an Enigmatic Incarnation, you can sacrifice this Fable, get a 4-mana creature. Lots of different variations, lots of different ways you can build this deck, of course, because it is it is a 4 or 5 color fires deck, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can get all kinds of different things. I've seen people get Siege Rhino. I've seen people get Omnath. There's just all kinds of different things you can do.
What kind of imagination do you have?
Or you can just cast Tolsimir.
Tolsimir,
Wow.
friend to wolves, and that is actually going to stabilize this board quite nicely here for Derrick, taking advantage of that ambitious mana base And
It's perfect, Marshall. The mana, if you ever talk to an Enigmatic Fires player and you ask them about their mana base, they're like, no, it's perfect.
It's also 3 life.
I have I have Nylea's Presence in my deck. My mana's perfect.
By the way, Chye's read this card 3 times now, and probably is like, "Are you serious?" Because like, how did that come down right on time?
6. I'm at 6.
Well,
Sometimes you look at this Enigmatic Fires deck and you're just like, wow, this just looks like a really awesome cube deck. Right? It's just
It
got
kinda
all the
does.
colors and
the person who prioritizes lands.
yeah.
Okay, there's Declaration in Stone.
Okay.
Nice turn here. Followed
Nice
up
turn,
by Thalia's Lieutenant
right?
with Mutavault at the ready.
Attacking with both, and Derrick can trade the Tolsimir here with one of these 3/3s.
And must.
Yes. Just now needs to decide whether or not he wants to kill the Cathar or the Mutavault. So he's going to go down to 3. Next turn, we'll have a 2/2 body from that Fable. But remember, there's another Mutavault hiding down there in the corner.
Looks like he's going to trade for the onboard Mutavault. He's going to drop down to 3.
Okay,
Boy, I
what can
thought
he
that
find?
Tolsimir really turned things around here for Derrick, but he finds himself, after a double spell turn from Heng, under immense pressure once again.
Yes, still needs
Is
to find...
facing 2 sets of lethal attackers.
Exactly.
Uh-oh, math is happening. He does have a 2/2 blocker, so that takes care of 1 set, if you will, but he does need to find...
You can block the
an answer.
Cathar, but Mutavault plus Thalia's Lieutenant will kill you unless you can play something. Okay!
And now we see Enigmatic Incarnation, one of the names.
What are we getting?
And what did he sack? He sacked Oath of Chandra so that he's going to get a 3, right?
Yeah, you're going to get a 3-mana creature.
Oh, how about Knight of Autumn and get yourself some life?
Are we gaining some life here?
Yeah, gain 4, baby. Up to 7, so he is no longer facing lethal. Although anytime you have Thalia's Lieutenant out, things the math can change rather rapidly.
And with the Brutal Cathar plus the Mutavault, that's an attack for 5. Derrick could even take that, and then because he's incentivized to keep the Reflection in play, because then he can start copying Knight of Autumn.
I mean, that would be
4 life
very
every turn.
difficult to raise,
Right.
right?
So if Chye does not play another creature this turn, he's just going to go, you know what, I'm just going to take 5.
Yeah, he gets 4 of it back.
Yeah.
For the low cost of 1 mana.
Just
I like that
make
from
it
Derrick.
2/2.
He's down to 2, but he's so close. Oh, and he's got the turn pass back to him. This is the best feeling in Magic. Wow.
Yeah, and now we're looking at Incarnation in play. You've got a Yorion as well. Can block up to 2 creatures here.
Bolster his life total.
Oh,
wow, and a Skyclave Apparition hits the battlefield as well, and that is going to make life really difficult for Heng.
Ooh, are we looking at a potential attack here?
Oh, he's going to get
That
chippy.
can't be good.
To you. And then do you upkeep make the token?
I'm not sure if
Is there
there's an
any risk
instant
here?
speed. I'm not sure if there's any instant speed way for the mono white deck to
hit the
break
knight?
the combo up.
Okay.
So
So he may be able to just have the luxury of sitting here.
right. I see Destroy Evil as a removal spell, but that, of course, the Knight of Autumn does not have 4 toughness, so can't use that as a way to kill the Knight of Autumn in response. Also, Destroy Evil might want to take down
The reflection.
the reflection or the Incarnation.
Indeed. But as you mentioned, that wouldn't break it up. He would still be able to activate this turn
Right.
at the
Would
worst.
still be able to make a 2/1, go up to 6, and block.
Boy, he's got some nice targets. Targeting Skyclave Apparition's no joke, too.
Yeah.
Can take care of some very problematic permanents on the other side.
Yeah, along with that Knight of Autumn, right? Now you're not as concerned about something like a wedding announcement from Chye.
Definitely. I mean, if the board stays like this, and only some power and toughness gets added by Heng, then, you know, Derrick's in the driver's seat. Heng needs to find a way to disrupt this. Yeah, Luminarch
that's
Aspirant
just
is
not
exactly
enough.
what I was talking about. Power and toughness.
Boom. Gain 4. Make a token. Block.
And back up to 6 he goes.
Block. Untap.
And once
Oh,
again, Heng just
and
has
an
to pass the turn.
untap.
Every time this happens, Derek Davis moves closer and closer to victory.
Is it time to put Yorion in hand yet?
Alia's presence here.
He has been
Draw card.
kind of
Okay.
waiting on that.
So now there's another 2-mana enchantment to sacrifice to get another 3-drop if you want.
Pick this up.
Okay.
There's Yorion jumping in.
It's happening soon,
Tick
Marshall.
tock.
It is happening soon.
Unstep.
End step, trigger this. Nylea's presence is going to get in the yard.
Okay.
This is going to be another 3-drop. And this train has simply rolled on too far at this point, right?
Yeah,
Is there any way
absolutely.
for Heng to get back in this? I can't imagine. I mean, you know how it is. When you play mono white, you kind of set yourself up.
Yeah.
You know, when you get to this spot, you're just cold top
Yeah,
decking.
oftentimes it's one of those, I got you low.
Yep.
If you stabilize, I need to draw this. I have a 1-turn window usually to find a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mention on top.
And if I don't, then I'm probably going to lose.
Got a Moonblessed Cleric here.
All right, so now he can find an enchantment and put it on top of his library. So extra creature can find redundant copies of Incarnation or just find a Leyline Binding, put it on top, and then get a 7-drop off the Incarnation.
Okay, well, he picked something, but we couldn't see it. But he did use the ability.
Okay,
But I think he just revealed it.
sure, really
Vertically,
quickly.
yeah.
Sure. It's probably a Leyline Binding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think he has the land types covered?
Yeah, I think so.
3 triomes, 4 shocklands,
Before block.
4 different shocklands, I mean.
All right, make another chump blocker here. Gain 4, go up to 10.
It's the best kind of chump blocker, too, the one that
Derrick is
gains
just having
life.
all kinds of fun
Oh,
now.
he's loving
He
it.
knows he can't lose from this spot.
No, this is the time where you just wonder how long Heng can hang in there, right?
Right.
You're like, hey,
Looks like-
am I going to get to just keep doing this stuff? Because I can do this.
Okay, so it looks like he got a Fires,
Okay.
Will
and then it had a Titan of Industry in hand.
He
and
just cast
casting
it
it. Look
from
at
the
all, he's got
Fires?
8 lands in play.
Yeah, he does.
Right?
This game's gone on for a very long time.
15.
So now Titan of Industry is going to hit choose 2.
No concession just yet. He's just like, all right, let's keep going. Show me what you got.
Yeah, you know, maybe he hasn't played against this list and just kind of wants to see how it goes.
Sure.
Maybe he's jet lagged. Like, could be anything. But I'll tell you what, Derek Davis is the happiest guy in the room because he gets to just do all the things here. He's going to sacrifice Fires of Invention and go get something for 5. And he got the new Elish Norn. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines.
Oh,
which
it's just
is going to shut down ETBs.
Yeah, so no Brutal Catharsis, and also doubles your effects. And everything in this deck has a come into play effect, right?
Okay,
So
Heng.
come on, Marshall.
It's okay,
this
buddy.
is just let's just. Okay.
All right, it's time to let go.
I wanted
he
I
says.
wanted one more turn.
And
Did
he's
we
gonna-
not want one more turn?
Send it over. Wow, Enigmatic Fires picks up another victory here. I mean, that thing looked amazing. And I gotta say, when I think about playing a deck like that has a lot of like not immediately board affecting kind of nonsense involved, mono white would be my absolute nightmare. He just 2-0'd him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you would think, right? I'm trying to get to the big game. I have a lot of clunky cards, but the deck also plays a lot of cheap removal. Oath of Chandra, Chain to the Rocks, Leyline Binding. So if you can just draw some of those, and then a lot of your come into play effects also kill creatures when you come into play. A lot of the 3-drops that you want to search for off those 2-mana enchantments that you sack off the Incarnation are also just good against creature decks. So if everything lines up correctly, you can still beat the mono white.
That's true. And as we saw, once it hits critical mass, it's just an
It's just
avalanche.
over.
That wasn't even
Yeah.
close. We've got more Magic to bring you here from this round. So we've got Bernardo Santos against Dan Kristoff, and we're going to be joining this one again already underway. We see Rakdos Sacrifice versus Azorius Spirit. So 2 very different approaches to the format, and that has been one of the features of Pioneer is its diversity of archetypes. We've seen a whole lot of different types of decks represented, and we get a few more here. These players are sitting at 8 and 4, so very much holding on for the ride here, but you know, they're not done yet, and they can still very much make top 8 with a great run at this point. Now, as I mentioned, we are joining this one in progress as Dan has already won game number 1, and we're joining in game number 2.
Yeah, and it looks like we have Rakdos Sacrifice. Slightly different than what Shota's playing. This deck is a little bit better against creature strategies. You got the Cat Oven combo in there with the Mayhem Devil. So whenever you play against creature decks, feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. So kind of coming into this, I think Bernardo should have felt relatively good about the matchup, but Dan actually able to take game 1 in this matchup.
You see the Shacklegeist on the battlefield here for Dan. It's a start.
Yeah, and we have seen several flavors of Spirits decks being played in this format. Mono blue, of course, but by adding the white mana, you do have access to some additional removal effects, because the mono blue deck just doesn't have any removal. So Dan Kristoff able to play 4 copies of Skyclave Apparition as extra ways to kind of interact with what your opponent's trying to do. And particularly in this matchup where you go, hey, now I have access to these apparitions. I can kill your Oven. I can kill Mayhem Devil.
All right, a second Blood Tithe Harvester. Oh, and a Witch's Oven
and
too.
an Oven. A lot of permanents.
He also got in there for 3. No block possible there. Ooh, pair of Shackle Guys.
Okay. Not ideal in multiples. And
they're basically just 2 spirits.
2 mana, 2/2 flyers, right? You could tap something down if you
Right.
feel like you're not in a position to win a racing situation.
Man, that's some hardcore flavor text on that card too. The blessed sleep doesn't come easily to a mind chained by regrets. Boy, I'm going to think about that when I can't fall asleep tonight, I'll tell you that.
Scary.
Is he going to start getting rowdy here is
Well,
the question.
can't
And the
attack
answer
with
is yes.
both, right? He just played one.
Yeah, it doesn't have haste.
So does he have another spirit to tap something down?
That would be really nice.
Because otherwise,
he can't block.
Otherwise, you might want to just tap down a 3/2, 2 for 3 damage. But perhaps this is a situation where you go, you know what? I need to race you with my flyers. If the game goes long, maybe it's rough for me.
Yeah. And, you know, of course, when you start seeing the lords hit the battlefield, that damage, that combat math can change very, very quickly.
Yeah, but Dan's down to 11 already.
Yeah, I mean, these 3/2s are just going off. What are we going to see? Oh, wow.
Oh,
Jagantha into
you
hand.
got to be feeling not bad if that's the
That's
play,
your turn?
right? No pressure there. Just the Jagantha.
Wow, Bernardo just having faith in the elk here.
Huh.
I mean, he had...
What does he have?
He had blood tokens. Like,
Right. Jagantha is usually the last thing you do.
Right.
Especially when you're facing off against Shacklegeist, right? You have the ability to tap down at 5/5. If your play is next turn, play land number 5 into 5/5. Must have just all removal. Okay. That is good. That now with the Supreme Phantom in play, that's an attack for 6.
Yeah, I mean, this
Can you
is
play
where that
another
math
spirit to tap
changes.
something down?
He can.
Okay.
Mausoleum Wanderer hits the battlefield now. So that'll keep one of the 3/2s at bay at the worst.
Right, so then Dan would only go down to 6, and then what can he crack back for? 3, 4, 5, 7 at the least here?
3, 6. I mean, if he wants
7,
to
8,
send
9. If you want to
everything,
send
it's
everything,
9.
excuse me, 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it time to... Now, remember, Bernardo can also sacrifice the Blood Tithe Harvesters if he no longer thinks he's in a position where he can race to kill the Phantom, to kill some other creatures on board. He can kill 2 of the things on board.
Yeah, I do feel like he's going to need to start doing that here pretty quickly.
Oh!
Is that a shore
Shore
to
up.
protect his creature?
Wow,
Wow.
against the Eaten Alive here. Now, we're still going to see this trigger here from the Unlucky Witness.
On the stack, I want to tap one of his creatures.
That is rough.
Yeah, I will retain priority with shore up on the stack and tap the Blood Tithe Harvester.
I see, because Shore Up also untaps. So he's saying he wants to respond to his own shore up trigger on the stack before it resolves. Tap one of Bernardo's permanents, and then Supreme Phantom will untap.
Yeah.
So he will have access to a blocker
It's really good
and
here.
tap something down, right? Because it's going to prevent the other Blood Tithe Harvester
Yeah,
from attacking.
becomes a 2/4 thanks to shore up.
That's 2, 5, 6.
Wow, this is a blowout.
Okay. Shore up resolves.
Okay, so one of the Blood Tithe Harvesters gets tapped. The other thing gets untapped,
Okay.
and this is the Unlucky Witness trigger being resolved.
Yeah, the Supreme Phantom does have hexproof.
Yep, it's 2/4 flying hexproof. Looks like he's going to cast Deadly Dispute here and sacrifice one of the Bloods.
Okay.
Get a treasure.
So now cannot use Blood Tithe Harvester to kill one of the Shackle guys because he's down to 1 blood, right? As there are 3 3s currently.
They are, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
That remains exiled. Boy, this is a really important turn.
Yeah.
A lot happened in a short period of time going back to Dan's last turn, but it is all come up Dan so far.
Yeah, that shore up was huge. So now can only kill the Wanderer.
Which he's going to take advantage of as he's down to 12 life and facing down 7 power on the board even after having killed that Mausoleum Wanderer. So far, Witch's Oven hasn't done anything.
Yep, no Cauldron Familiar. Had the Unlucky Witness, but of course used that for the Eaten Alive.
Eaten Alive, right?
Yeah. Bernardo, in a pinch, could also sacrifice the Blood Tithe Harvester. Oh,
Ooh,
taking
look at
damage?
this.
What's going on here?
Blood Crypt down to 10. Must be a Fatal Push, and
Okay.
there it is. He does have Fatal Push, so
All right,
that was a
helps.
really nice turn there for Bernardo. He actually turned this game back around at least somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's still at 9. Oh,
how about Curious
Curious
Obsession?
Obsession.
No, that could change things once again.
So this is an attack for 4.
Yep.
Draw a card.
So down to 6 and draw a card. Boy, these guys they're playing rough. This is some haymakers they're tossing.
All right,
back
so
and
this
forth.
is potentially a lethal attack next turn. We got 8 power in the skies. Dan also has the ability to tap down this Blood Tithe Harvester. Blood Tithe Harvester with 1 blood in play can't kill any of the creatures on board.
No, they got too big. Card drawn here for Santos as he surveys the scene.
Wonder if he has another way to make a blood. A little bit weird. Could have considered sacrificing Witch's Oven, but that's kind of the core artifact in your deck, right? The moment you sack that, all of a sudden you draw a bunch of Cauldron Familiars that don't do anything, so...
This is game number 2. Dan won game 1.
If he doesn't have anything at this point, maybe you just loot with the blood, right? Just sack the blood to find answers.
Yeah, I don't think Gigantha's going to get the job done.
Right.
It does look like he has a grip of cards, though. I think he's got 5 cards in hand. Maybe an Abrade in there. I just got like a tiny...
Right. For all we know, he just has 3 removal spells.
Yeah,
right?
He absolutely could. He's been using up all of his mana every turn. So he's going to use it, but that doesn't quite kill it. Oh, but look what he found.
Oh,
but he's going to get countered here by Geistlight Snare. Mayhem Devil was going to finish off. Now, how did this work with the sequencing, though, Paul?
So, but he can pay 3 mana, right? Is that not a treasure?
It is.
It is a treasure. So he can pay, but then there's nothing to sack other than the Mayhem Devil itself. Also, he sacrificed the
I just
Blood Tithe
don't know why he
Harvester.
did it
Why don't you just run out the Mayhem Devil first, right?
Right, because then you get an extra
that's the
pin.
damage that you're missing.
So he's gonna
now he
have
has to
to now-
sack that, and so
Jeez.
then you're gonna take 5 damage here, and Dan's gonna be able to draw a card.
Oh, and there's the win right off the top of the library. Another Curious Obsession adds the requisite 1 power, and that just fell apart there on Santos.
Yeah, and so one thing to consider there is because the Blood Tithe Harvester is a sorcery speed effect, could have responded by tapping the Blood Tithe Harvester in response. So maybe that was why.
Yeah, or interacting with it in some other way.
Right. But it's
Bounce it,
just
tap it.
Yeah, that was just such a weird start. I thought Bernardo had all the tools, but of course, the moment he put the Giganta in hand, you're like, okay, he must not really be working with a whole lot.
Yeah, that was the tough part. That was where it started to go like this. Now he fought to scrap and keep in there, but he wasn't able to ultimately. And Spirits picks up a win there, so we'll keep an eye on that one as we work our way through. We're going to be taking a short break, but we are far from done here in Philadelphia for today. We've got 7 more top 8 seats to fill up, and we hope you will join us for each and every one of them. We'll be back with more right after this.